Hi everyone, my name is Lydia, and this is what I wish they taught me about econometrics and introduction. We have now introduced the dummy variables, and we've seen a little bit that the actual regression does not tell us all the information, especially when we include a numerical variable for all of the different groups that we have. So let's see the math behind it so that we can get convinced that indeed in a regression where we have a dummy variable, we have a lot of very important information, and what is the information that is not being included. So without further ado, let's start with the simplest of models. Let's say that we have y equals to beta 0 plus beta 1 d, some dummy, plus an error term. Okay, and keep in mind here we've got where d takes these two values, either a 1 or a 0. Usually it said 1 if treated, and 0 if it's what we call in the control group. In the previous exercise or examples we've seen, I've used here 1 if it's employed, and 0 if it's unemployed. Okay, which means that my base group in here is the unemployed group. So let's compute the expected values by group. In terms of conditional expectations, we will have if d is equal to 0, then the expectation of y conditional on d being equal to 0 is simply beta 0. If d is equal to 1, then the expectation of y conditional that on d being equal to 1 is simply going to be beta 0 plus beta 1. Because keep in mind, again, we're just multiplying with a 1 in here. It doesn't need to appear. Now, what happens when we subtract these two expressions that we have? Well, we have that the conditional expectation of y on d equal to 1 minus y conditional on d being equal to 0. That is going to simply be beta 1. Okay, so beta 1 is the difference in group means. Okay, and means because we have here expectations. Okay, so running a regression with only a dummy variable is exactly the same as comparing two sample means. So running a regression with only a dummy variable is exactly the same as comparing two sample means. So the regression is just a structured way of doing difference in means. Now, let's extend the model. Let's assume we have a model where we've got y equals to some beta 0 plus beta 1 d plus beta 2 x and an error term. Okay. Now, let's continue and do the expectations as usual. So the conditional expectation of y, conditional on d being equal to 0 and x, is now beta 0 plus beta 2x. And the conditional expectation of y, conditional on d being equal to 1 and x, is instead b0 plus beta 1 plus beta 2x. So if we subtract again, just like we did earlier, and sorry, I'm going to be just a little bit cheeky in here and copy the expressions that I have. this is simply going to be equal to beta 1 because, see, these two will cancel out, this and this will cancel out as well. And we're again going to be left only with beta 1. So again, beta 1 measures now the difference between the groups, but keep in mind, holding x constant. Okay? So that partial effect interpretation. Keep in mind, the slopes on x are the same in both groups. So in a sense, in here, you're looking at lines or regression lines that are literally parallel. We're not going to dive too deep into that because we're going to have a separate video where we graphically show what happens in the background. But overall, what you have to see is that the moment that we go from a simple regression where we had that it was the difference in means and it was the same as literally a structural difference of the two means, even when we extend and add another numerical variable x in here, beta 1 is still the difference in the means between the two groups, but holding the numerical variable constant. Now, this is going to be very crucial, especially when we move into wanting to understand a little bit more about, well, how do we get other information about it? Because so far, especially for the extended model, while we have that the beta 1 in here is the difference with the average y while holding the x constant, the information that we have on instead beta 2 is going to be related only to the base group, and we don't have any information that relates to what the x is doing when you have the other group. Okay? I hope this was helpful to show like the algebra of what's happening behind the dummy variable. And stay tuned because I'll see you in the next video.